So, first story. First story is Platform 2 by Pam Keevil. After a career in teaching, Pam assumed she would write for children. She was wrong. She writes romance and murder usually at the same time, and rarely in a short story format. Her first novel, Virgin at 50, will be published by Black Pear Press later this year. Pam read at the November 2012 Stroud Short Stories Spooky Night and has a regular slot on Caribbean Radio in Cirencester, where she reads her work. So, please make a racket for Pam Keevil and Platform 2.
Platform 2. It had proved remarkably easy to find Graham, or rather Dad, as he wanted Jenna to call him. She was not sure. He was unknown to her except in her imagination. For years she'd made up stories to explain his absence. He was a spy and had left her mother because he might put their lives in danger. He was a member of the royal family, and her presence would destabilise the succession. Or he was a famous actor with an equally famous wife whose perfect lives were showcased in OK magazine with remarkable frequency. All scenarios had one basic feature. As soon as he realised he had a daughter, he would arrange to meet, and when they did, he would beg her forgiveness, show her a lock of baby hair or a much creased photo of her first birthday party, although he'd already done a runner by that time, according to her mother. She checked her watch. She was only 30 minutes away from finding the answers to all her questions that had plagued her life. 30 minutes, 1,800 seconds. She could count them. Except her brain would be creating scenarios that had her snivelling back the tears before she got to 10. How else could she pass the time? The station was crowded. Students bent over with vast rucksacks on their backs like human snails staggered towards the ticket office, clutching bottles of water and jabbering in unrecognisable languages. A handful of women dressed with T-shirts that announced they were Emma, mother of the groom, or Sandy, chief bridesmaid, followed a woman in a white lace veil and a tiara. Her buttocks protruded from microscopic pink shorts and wobbled as she walked, enveloped in a cloud of vape. Jenna felt her mouth twist downwards. She tried to smile. She couldn't. No doting father had paid for her wedding. She and Rob had managed themselves on a shoestring, and her Uncle Dave had walked her down the aisle. It wasn't the same. A group of school children, all in twos with adults arranged at sensible intervals, crossed the concourse in a giggling stream of red sweatshirts. They all carried small backpacks with the name of the school printed on them and clipboards. She raised her eyebrows as the woman at the back passed by. "Rather you than me," she murmured. The woman smiled. "As long as I don't lose one, I'll be all right." It had only ever been Jenna's mum at school events. And the kids noticed. All this crap about single-parent families being the norm was just that, crap. She'd always felt judged by her peers, ridiculed. Perhaps things were more lenient now. She doubted it. She checked her watch again. Coffee! That's what she needed. She crossed the concourse and climbed the steps to Costa. She'd select a seat that overlooked the platform where his train was due to arrive. Perhaps he was here already. Perhaps even now he was watching her, waiting for the appointed time before their rendezvous. God, it sounded like the script of a second-rate movie. She ordered an espresso. But it was a second-rate movie. She hadn't even got a recent photo of him. Instead, he'd insisted he'd wear a red carnation, and she should carry one too so they could recognise each other. She had still sent him countless photos of her, Rob, and the children, his grandchildren. She took her coffee, and perched on one of the high stools overlooking the concourse. The clatter of the information screens as trains departed and arrived fought with the rumble of wheeled suitcases, and over and above everything else was the endless hum of voices, the essence of human interaction. Why had he never contacted her? Why hadn't he tried to find her? Surely he couldn't have hated her mother so much. Or was it easier to disappear, start again, and pretend she had never existed? When she spoke to him on the phone, his voice had a Geordie twang. Her mother had said he was from the north. Don't get your hopes up, her mother had warned her. He's a waster, a useless lump. Was he? She'd soon find out. She drained her cup. The bitter hit of caffeine jolted her back to reality. She swallowed. It was time. She'd go and stand by the side of platform 2, half obscured by a concrete pillar. She would watch as everyone spilt off the train. She'd spot him, and that would give herself time to gather her wits, to walk forward, stretch out her hand. "Graham? Dad?" she'd say. After that, she had no idea what would happen. She'd trust her luck, fate, or whatever was watching over her that day. She walked down the steps, holding onto the railings for support. Her legs had never felt this weird before, as if she was drunk. Each footfall threatened to catapult her forwards. She grasped the cold metal and stood still for a few seconds, drawing in great draughts of fetid air. What had her mother said? Don't get your hopes up. Unreliable, that's what he was and always will be. What if she was right? Jenna walked, dreamlike through the swathes of people, each intent on a journey, going somewhere, anywhere. Most of them were heading home. And that's where she wanted to be, home, safe, and with all her dreams still intact. She wanted Rob to hug her. She wanted to see the twins as they came rushing out of school with their book bags, their spelling lists, and a soggy piece of paper that said there was a painting of Mummy or the dog. If she left now, she could sink back into her life. The metal gates at the end of platform 2 swung open. A train snaked its way along the track and under the metal and glass tracery of the Victorian roof. There was still time. If she left now, he'd never go. She'd say she'd been ill or delayed. He'd understand. He had to. He owed her that. People were getting off the train. They were hurrying to the exit. She threw the carnation into the nearest waste bin and ran. It lay there, undisturbed, next to a second red carnation and the stub of a train ticket from Newcastle.